We are doing season 3 now. Rape is commonplace in South Africa. It's been reported that over 40% of women in South Africa are and will have reported to have been raped at least once in their lifetime. The crisis is so persistent that rape cases no longer make the news cycle just by themselves. It takes celebrities and powerful people being raped for the social ill to get any airtime. Yet, so many women fall prey to this heinous act. In this episode, we want to talk about rape at 3 levels in particular, and this is the thing that we want to understand. At first, at a conceptual level, where we discuss issues of power and consent. Secondly, at a personal level, where we discuss issues of dignity, trauma, and recovery. And thirdly, at a societal level, where we discuss its broader societal harms, while perhaps tracking its history in order to give us a greater understanding of this crisis. Here to join us in this conversation and to help us unpack this very important matter, really the reason behind this podcast, is the spokesperson for Women for Change South Africa, Bulelwa Adonis. Bulelwa, thank you so much for joining us. Bulelwa has been so patient with us, guys. You don't actually understand, and I really appreciate you on this platform and for making time. How are you doing?
Firstly, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation. And technology is technology. We can't control that thing. So no worries at all. I think this is a very important conversation. And I love what you guys are doing. And it's so amazing to have men that are instigating this conversation because it's very rare in a country like ours for men to involve or include themselves in such a conversation. So I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bulelwa. I think to kick it off, the work that you do in Women for Change South Africa is such important work because it gets society at large to really hone in on issues that we tend to forget about, such as rape, which is a heinous crime. So just set a general context of the crisis of rape in South Africa. Statistically, we have an idea as to how bad it is, but as someone that really, as an organization that delves into the individual cases, just unpack the context for us, for someone that really doesn't have an understanding or an appreciation for how bad it is in South Africa.
Yeah.
Firstly, South Africa is known as the rape capital of the world. I think the fact that we have that title exclaims so much on its own. I think the fact that as a woman in South Africa, you are more likely to get raped than to get a job, than to get education, than to get dignity, than to be seen as a human being. The fact that you are more likely to get raped, get validated, to get violated, says a lot. And here in South Africa, our rape or our femicide rate is 5 times higher than the global rate. And the globe is not just Africa. It's not just some part of it's the globe. That says a lot about our small country at the bottom. It's not small at all. It says a lot that this is the behavior of our country. This is the normality. Other people are known for different cultures, for their foods. We're known for rape. South Africa is known for rape. South Africa is, in my personal opinion, I would describe our country as paradise for predators. Our predators throughout the world know that you are welcome here. Know that you are protected here in my country. In our country, this is a predator's paradise. And that is the reality of South Africa. That is the fact that looking over your shoulder and being fearful is a normality, is the reality of South African women.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's very, it's very scary. It's very scary that, it's, and I like the way that you put it. You're saying that it is our foremost reputation, right? It's way up there with us being the Rainbow Nation. It's right there at the top of what we're known for in global society. And I think that's a very terrible thing. And, I think there's an underappreciation of what rape actually is. And although this might sound like a benign question, I'm actually going to ask you to conceptually, purely define what rape is, so that it's clear for the men in our audiences who want to themselves unlearn, to actually understand what they're dealing with at a conceptual level.
Can I firstly say thank you for asking that question? I think that's an important question. I think media, the shows we watch, I think rape has been made one-dimensional, which is completely incorrect. But I'm going to answer your question in a simplified manner. Please forgive me, it's quite cold in this room. That's why I was having a rooibos, and that's why I'm like shivering.
No, it's not a problem. It has great lighting. Good lighting.
Exactly. But going back to your question, rape is when you engage in any sexual activity where both parties have not consented. No is not a word. No is a sentence. No is a full statement. And no is not just the word N-O. No is hesitation. No is second guessing. No is passed out, I'm drunk. No is just intoxicated. No is the fact that you have to pursue her. It's no. You are coercing her. The fact that you have to persuade the other party to partake in something that will pleasure you when you can see it's not pleasurable to her, that you are insinuating rape. Why I started by saying that things like media have made rape one-dimensional is because rape is this big scary thing where there's blood everywhere. Nope. Rape's not just that. Rape that is one part of it, but you can be raped with a smile. You can be raped by your best friend. If you can get raped in a marriage where no one can see you in your beautiful home, in a beautiful bed, you have a ring on your finger. If you can get raped in marriage, you can get raped. You can get raped normally. And it's not even about what are you wearing. Me personally, I was wearing a tracksuit. I was at school wearing gym like comfortable gym like tracksuit. Yes. By a friend, a person I trusted. That's why I said no. No is also, people need to realize that no is nonverbal. No is just not the verbal. No is nonverbal. The fact that no, just please wait, and your persistence, a one-party persistence. Think to yourself. You're going for you. You're going for your pleasure. And I may be derailing, but I'm trying to emphasize the importance of consent.
Yes.
And rape occurs. Sorry, I think we're breaking up.
Yes. No, Dumi was saying something quickly.
No, I was just saying no is everything that isn't enthusiastic consent.
Exactly.
And I think people think that, but we're making out. Why? You can be completely naked and still say no. You can go all the way and still say no. You can be in intercourse and say stop. But your progression beyond the stop is rape.
Yes. Sure. That's very important. And I like the fact that, you began with the fact that the way that rape is understood is two-dimensional. There's something that I want Bongani to unpack, because Bongani and I had a conversation about consent a long time ago. I'm not sure if you remember, around 2016. And, we were talking about the fact that the way that consent itself is so underappreciated that more men than we think have raped. So just unpack that a little bit, right? And we take it back to the issue of consent and dignity, because I want you to pick up right after Bongani's just gives us a comment on that, and on just like the how, the importance of consent and how clear it actually is, but it's underappreciated.
I think the chat that we're having was about when we also first started to understand the language around rape. It was very fascinating because you started to realize that a lot of the stories that your guy friends and the men that we hang around with, you start to think back at them and realize how many of them were actually tellings of rape, but from the men's perspective, right? So it gets to a point in guy conversations where some conversations are so normalized, but the day someone introduces you to the language of rape, it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is. All right. Then you think back to the conversation you were sitting in on last week, and the week before, and the month before, and it's like, holy crap! I think I might know like 4 or 5 rapists right now, because that whole phrase about all women know someone that's been raped, but no man knows a rapist. Once you know the language, like for example, what you just did now by explaining the full extent of consent. What that's done for us in the audience is to give us an idea of who might fall into that net. And it might be guys who are listening to this episode right now. It might be friends of guys who are listening to this episode right now. But the point of the matter is, once the net has been cast, you start to realize that, in fact, we do know a lot of rapists, because the language barrier has now been broken. So that's something that I found interesting about 6 years ago when all of this language was being introduced. But I've also come to realize that a lot of the tension from South African men in accepting how bad the rape crisis is, the tension comes from when they've heard the language. It's very hard to concede to either them being rapists or knowing rapists in their close circles.
Sure.
I really think a lot of the resistance doesn't come from, but surely it's not that bad, but it comes from, oh my goodness, I think it is that bad, and I think it's bad in my space as well. So I've really picked up on, the language is so important because it casts that net.
So yes, please, I was going to ask you to comment on that. Yes, please.
I love that you mentioned that. And I think that tension comes from a place of, what do they say in English? Birds of the same feather flock together. Right. So people get agitated and frustrated because their friend is a reflection of them. Right. So I think the agitation in involving themselves in this conversation is that could be me. That I okayed that. I praised that. I glorified it. Because we think that I have a strong body count. I've seen too many young men, older men. That's bragging rights, is it not?
Absolutely.
Is that not bragging rights?
Absolutely.
At the expense of the victim.
Sure.
At the expense of the victim. I know too many people, myself included, where it was bragged about that took a virginity. It's bragging rights. That's the reality. And I think there's that tension because it's like, I encourage that, but the word rape is scary. The word they know. I think in South Africa, men know how serious rape is. And that's not my friend. I know my friend. We've been friends for 24 years. That means nothing. That means nothing. That means absolutely nothing, because you know for a fact that she said no. She was trying, but you encouraged it as a friend because you're my boy. You get all the girl.
Yeah.
And I think the main tension goes back to ego. I can't call my friend a rape. I don't know a rapist because that means I'm friends with a rapist.
Sure.
I don't want that.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want that for myself.
Yeah.
I don't want that stigma placed on me. Birds of the same feather flock together.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
That's where people start fighting. No, I'm going to defend my friend. You're defending your friend because you're defending yourself.
Exactly.
You're defending your friend's reputation because it falls into you.
That's real.
And reputation, it's something that's so important to men. Reputation, how they're seen on the streets, how they're known. I mean, when we found out about who R. Kelly truly was, but he's a good musician. What can I do? I love his music.
Yeah.
Of course, I love his music too. He has amazing music. But who is he?
Yeah.
You're being dramatic. I'm still gonna listen to his music, but I know he did bad. I agree, but then if we treat R. Kelly like that, then what about your Tom, Dick, and Harry?
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we are paying somebody who's in jail right now by still playing his music, because and this is I say it again, I'm not taking away from the fact that R. Kelly is an incredible musician. I grew up listening to his music, loved, and when I heard, I was like, I love that music. Yeah. But then I think till this day I have not found, and I'm not. I think I'm sensitive, and I know I have my own trauma, but I've dealt with it. But I mean, I still have not brought myself to a place where I'm going to watch Surviving R. Kelly.
Yeah, my goodness.
I'm not trying to watch a documentary that reflects my country. Yeah. That reflects not only my backyard, but at home, in my neighbors. This is my Surviving R. Kelly. It should be translated to life in South Africa. Yeah. And I think that's why I haven't brought myself to watching that. Yeah. And I go back to ego, reputation, it's all intertwined. There's agitation and tension because you're protecting you.
That's what it boils down
to. Because everybody knows you guys, but that's your boy. Because people are also going to call you out. Oh, you're not going to say anything about what your friend did? My friend can do nothing. That's my friend. We're defensive because we're defensive of self.
Yeah. I like that point, Bulelwa. And, in the very first episode of Learning and Unlearning, Dumi said something profoundly important in relation to what you're saying right now. And I'm going to ask Dumi to just unpack that a little bit. Dumi had mentioned the fact that, the reason why, remember when Men Are Trash came out, that hashtag, right? And the first thing that we did as men, was like, hey, I'm not trash. No, bro. Hey, no. You know what I mean? Because again, whenever we think of rape, whenever we think of femicide, whenever we think of sexual assault, whenever we think of sexism, whenever we think of these things, we think them as behavior traits and actions perpetrated by monstrous, crazy men. And I'm a sane, rational human being who believes in the South African Constitution inherently, and therefore I there's no way I'm trash and all those kinds of things. And Dumi said something along the lines of, there are so many micro things that we do that we consent to as men, or that we don't talk about, that contribute to those things eventually happening. Yeah. So Dooms, I just want you to kind of repeat that point and just unpack that notion, because I really think it kind of dovetails very nicely from what Bulelwa was saying about inherently defending ourselves, by kind of just not taking this that seriously.
Yeah. So I think for me, what's alarming is, and I'm gonna touch on Frank's point around us not having a baseline understanding around the language, right? Because that says two things to us. It says either that there is a sincere misunderstanding about what might constitute rape, right? And not even from like a criminal perspective, just from like a how we relate to people perspective. So there's either a sincere misunderstanding about what constitutes rape, or we understand the gravity of rape, but we have such disregard for women's bodies and just women's humanity in general that we're willing to override that at our own discretion, right? But I think also, you know, there's a I think once we get to the point where you know, we have that understanding, that baseline understanding of what constitutes rape. Once we have the understanding that we know for rapists, we might be rapists ourselves, then, you know, Bulelwa's point around, you know, because the R. Kelly conversation is a consequence management conversation, right? And especially, and we live in a country where you can skirt consequences, like you said, Bulelwa. This is the predator's paradise, right? But I think it highlights, like I said, the pervasive, just the extent to which the lack of a baseline understanding affords us the ability to skirt consequences, and where you can't even, where you know it provides cover, like you said, and where we can't even hold an R. Kelly accountable from a social perspective, but also we live in a South Africa where you can neither hold a person accountable from a legal perspective or a social perspective. Then it affords the culture to become even more pervasive, right? Where we continue to almost become co-principals in the offense of rape, right? We're aware of our own conduct and the conduct of you know, the men close to us, but we have the cover of the language, right? And we have, and specifically the cover of the absence of the language. And I think conversations like this are necessary because we take that away, right? We take away the shroud and we lay the language bare. We take away the cover and we force you to confront the reality that is rape.
You know, one thing I want you to speak about, Bulelwa, you know, thank you very much on that, Dumi. You may have touched on this a little bit, but I really want you to, again, this is a baseline conceptual episode. So it's like I'm taking it back to primary school with regards to this concept, right? Please discuss at two levels the implications of rape on the person. So what does it mean? You know, I mean, Begitele said something so alarming after this rape saga that happened in Kagiso, where he was like, yeah, but one of them was likely to be raped by one, while others were raped by dozens of people. You know what I'm saying? In his mind, he was saying something that makes sense, but that's indicative of a complete and total lack of understanding and appreciation of the implications of rape on the individual. So please unpack rape, implications of rape on an individual, and then unpack the implications of rape in society at large, where we have a rape capital in South Africa. What are the societal general implications of rape? So you can just break it down in two answers.
There's so much to unpack on the actual individual. I don't think people completely understand how you destroy a human being by raping them. I myself described my own journey, my own experiences, but again, I'm lucky because it was one person, according to the head chief of the place that protects our country. I said that I was a walking corpse for these past 5 years. I've just been, you know, just roaming, it feels. And when you rape someone, you completely eradicate the truth that they are in control of their bodies. So you take their power. You take their power, you take their authority, because you make the individual feel like they were incapable of defending themselves.
Jeez.
You decrease, it's not true, but this is how an individual would feel. You decrease the worth of that individual and their body because you violate. In our country, it's whatever. So how do we think that? But I'll get back to the society part.
Yeah.
But I think and the individual or the person is completely destroyed, completely distraught, completely confused, because now the individual must be thinking to themselves, depending on who it is, it could be a stranger. I mean, that one, obviously, they're not going to think too deeply, I think. But I think even in that, depending on whoever you are, be it friend, be it father, be it uncle, be whoever, you think to yourself, what did I do? Unfortunately, the atmosphere taught us to ask that question first, not am I okay?
Sure. Man.
The environment teaches us, what did I do? What was I wearing? But again, that goes back to society. I don't want to deviate.
Yeah.
But people don't digest that you destroy. I never thought that death would occur in the same place that all of us were brought to life.
Yo.
True death occurs there. That was our first home. We all came out. We the same place we entered the world. Life is robbed from us there. Yes, we move, we maneuver, but I've seen too many walking corpses. I've seen too many people whose lights have switched off in their eyes. You kill a person because, and then you get trauma, because I mean, I'm also studying psychology, but even if I wasn't,
right.
I'm studying psychology, so I understand trauma.
Yes.
Outside of my own experience, outside of other people's experience, trauma, it's, especially on that level, it does something to you. It's almost like grief. You get confused, you don't know. I think the beauty of, I don't want to say there's beauty in grief, but at least the person is in a better place, or they have gone, or they've left, or they're no longer in pain. But when you've been raped, you see the crime scene. You are the crime scene. You are robbed of your name, because who are you? You're not a girl. You're not a mother, a grandmother, a sister. You're not Bulelwa. You are victim. You are attention seeker. You are a slut, or whatever they want to call you. You're robbed of your name. And it's so hard to come back from. I kid you not. That's why we know more victims than rapists. Even like going back to the microaggression thing. Why do we say she was raped? Yes, it's true. Why don't we say he raped her? Why don't we say the police officer raped her? How is it? I think it was Becky Cele, in an interview, speaking about how 8 of the men were Nigerians. What does nationality have to do with the fact that you're a predator? That in itself, he doesn't understand how that's a microaggression on its own. How he taught us in that moment that a Nigerian is a predator.
Like no. African don't rape. Exactly.
Exactly. We are so afraid of labeling a person by their actions. You are a rapist. But no, like R. Kelly, you are the musician. You are, he's a great musician. He's a great TV presenter. You kill an individual because they look like a fool. You overall, more than anything, you destroy a human being. And it's so unfortunate. Now I'm going to dive into society. I'm going to try and intertwine both of them, because I think it's hard for me to separate one from the other, but I think I've mentioned enough on the individual.
Oh, yes. 100%, yeah.
society has made the individual feel crazy because my so-called justice system puts a timeline to when I can get justice. And even in that, only certain people get it.
Yes.
The police force, the people who are in charge of protection, they embarrass the reality of our livelihoods. They embarrass our stories because how many DNA samples have been lost and outdated?
Yeah. Yeah.
From my understanding, I think from March 2021 to March 2022, 41,965 rape cases were open. Mind you, only 6% of people open a case. If that's the 6%, what has society said?
Yeah.
Society, the implications of rape, society has devalued the individual.
Yeah.
Because how come when it comes to a legal case, don't say his name, but everybody knows your name.
Oh,
As
yeah.
the individual who was violated, don't say you're going to ruin his. What about my life? You said to the individual, your life doesn't matter. Your life is already over. Police station, you want to open a case. No, think about what you're doing. What about the individual?
Yeah.
In too many circumstances, has society said you don't matter. Your story is not enough. Get over yourself. Society says, okay, but what were you doing walking at night anyway? Okay, but then why did you go to the club? Okay, but then my country is also going to say we have freedom. So I have freedom between this time frame and this time frame. Where's freedom? Why is freedom constrained? Don't tell me I have freedom if there is somebody controlling something.
Yeah.
Why did you have an opinion to your boss when you know he's in charge? You're a female. What does that mean? You have the same qualifications. Why is his salary higher? It's all these small things, but rape damages society mentally because if predators are not raped, then good heavens, other offenders, be it criminals or I don't know, murderers, they can let's do it.
Yeah.
Rape is so normalized. We treat it like sneezing.
Yeah.
We were more alert and on board with COVID. But femicide, we already know that.
Yeah.
When a statistic is put on TV, we turn it off. Do we not?
Yeah.
When COVID, let's pick up the volume. How many cases? The thing with Women for Change, we like to put the stats up because, and the pictures of the individuals because we like putting numbers to figures because those individuals are not just numbers. And society has, just like I think varsity, they say you're just a number. Society says you're just a statistic.
Yeah.
You're nothing but a statistic.
Sure. Bulelwa, thank you very much for just unpacking that. Unpacking the personal implications of rape, the harms and the consequences that it has on the individual, but also unpacking the societal implications. Basically getting us to a point where we understand the reason why we are called the rape capital of the world. I want you to, because, learning and unlearning is about us getting to a way forward. We want to see a change. And, your organization as well is exactly on the same tip, where Women for Change SA is agitating around issues such as this. And you spoke a little bit about the importance, for example, of blaring the statistics constantly. We follow you guys on Instagram, and man, every day there's content because that content isn't showing up on the news, but it's showing up on your platform all the time. So really talk to us about the work that you're doing and its importance. And then lastly, wrap it up with, because this Learning and Unlearning podcast is for men, right? Because we want to contribute to the solution because we've been the problem, right? So
It's our problem.
It's our problem. So what can we do insofar as curbing this issue and contributing to this fight? But maybe start with Women for Change South Africa.
Firstly, I like that you use the word agitated. I think that's the I want to say the niche behind it, but mainly Women for Change is to educate and advocate and create awareness for the femicide and gender-based violence in our country, to amplify the fact that we have human rights. Although considering the stories that we read, we may not feel like we have any human rights. We may not feel like there is worth in our stories. And I think that a platform like Women for Change and the reasoning and the work behind Women for Change is that we amplify people's voices. Women for Change originally started off as creating awareness. It started off as creating awareness, but responsibility and the trust that people have over us is so immense that now we've become a communication line to link victims to legal assistance, to free counseling. Some people come to us. So a lot of people in my DMs, and like, I know I'm not a therapist yet or whatnot, so not that people know, but we went from awareness to we're showing, we're teaching people what their rights are. We're telling them, these are your rights. This is what you do when you go to the police, because this is what you ask for. This is who you ask for, And now we've turned from awareness in the very beginning, when Women for Change started, all the way in 2016. In 2022, people have more trust in Women for Change. Like you said, there's daily content on our websites, on our social media platforms, social media presence, on the news. On the news, only the big stories, the unenes, the tehofatsos, the horrifying deaths are amplified. Women for Change, I think we're also trying to agitate the fact that this happens every day, everywhere, to anyone, that it can happen to you. We're putting faces to people, because our countries, like, I go back to saying that, like university says, you're just a number. Our country says that women we're just statistics. And I want to go back to the last thing we spoke about before the break and say that you asked what is the implication of rape on society, and this also, I guess, connects to the individual. If you'll allow me to include this point.
100%, yeah.
Rape breaks people. And in South Africa, we've normalized broken people interjecting in a society. So we want broken people to maneuver through society, to grow families. So we want broken people to grow families, broken people to work. I know that broken crayons still color. That's how women are still standing. That's the fierceness and power of being a woman. The fact that broken crayons can still color. Broken people can also still maneuver through life, but it's so damaging that there's this transfer of brokenness, because rape is going to break the person. And unfortunately, if you don't manage your trauma correctly, you bleed on people, even the ones that didn't cut you in the first place.
Sure.
I think that's the damage of rape. And in a country, in a rape culture society like ours, how many people are bleeding? How much blood is on our hands in our streets, figuratively and literally, literally. And the work that we do as Women for Change, it started off as awareness, but really we connect people with free counseling, because people require that. People come to us with their stories. This is what happened. This is who it is. risking lawsuits, suing, all of that.
Yeah.
But we don't think of that. We think of the fact that this is reality. The same way us as the human race, if we're all being honest, only now seeing climate change, we're like, oh man, this is a real thing. But we're only going to wake up because, but this weather's weird. And later on, when we have children and there's no animals to show them, then we're going to be like, oh, but we contributed to this. I lived to that one day. And it almost feels like we're in a country that's trying to make women go extinct. Our first homes were women, but we're killing that. And you also asked about the solution, correct? I must include the solution that men can do.
Yes.
Again, I'm going to treat this like you said, like, level 2. I just want to simplify things. You have influence over your circle. Your people, your friends, they care about what you say.
Yeah.
And what I realized about men is that they don't really listen to women. Men listen to men more. If anything, men only listen to men. And I think if it's so intimidating to start the conversation of what you did was wrong, it starts in the smallest of things. Why are you making a rape joke? Wait, if the person makes a rape joke, why are you laughing? If you see your friend perpetuating like a rapey mannerism, why are you still befriending him? Why call out your friends? As men, call out your friends first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I think men are afraid in the sense that I'm going to lose my friend. Sit them down and say, this is what's happening. And then I know the combat response is, it's not my problem. It doesn't happen to me. It doesn't. How is it that it's okay that your boys can if around, but you're not going to let your sister, you're going to be protective of your sister? Watch yourself. Why are you being like that? What does that say? If you know that, okay, don't go out with that boy, don't call me. Why are you being like that? If your sister asks you why, what are you going to say to her? No, like, that boy is bad. No, you know that men are bad. Watch, be a mirror, watch yourself. Like, I go back to saying people have made it like scientific, like made it hard. Having a conversation. If boys can have group chats where they can send nudes and talk about girls in a very explicit way and whatever, can someone not say, guys, that's not cool?
Yeah.
Can we not have that one person? Start by being that one that says, okay, but guys, that's not cool. Because we don't realize by befriending and sticking by the rapist and kikiing and laughing and still befriending and being jolly around a predator, that you're enabling him. That no, they still love me. You're a girl, I don't care about you.
Yeah.
Let them lose friends. You as the friend, let them lose you. Maybe they'll come correct. Maybe they'll come correct. Birds of the same feather flock together. If they see you, because at first maybe you, as the one, you may seem like you're uptight. But if you wake up as a group and realize that you're catcalling on this one girl who's uncomfortable trying to cross the road, and you see she has to cross there, but she lives behind you, shouldn't you question yourself?
Yeah.
Why is she not you being weird? No, you guys are being weird. Calling a spade a spade. No, it's just a joke. It's not a joke. There's a truth behind every I'm joking. Let's start there.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're saying. It's as simple as men. We just need you to call out your friends. We need you to have these conversations because you listen to each other more than you listen to us. It's about understanding that it's not a woman's problem. It's a global, a South African pandemic, a global one, if anything. It's just South Africa thrives in it. And how sad is that to say?
Oh my goodness.
As a man, how do you feel that one day your daughter may be afraid of you? Reading, because in history, if they love women enough, and one day they care about the reality of femicide, and they put this in the history books. And one day when we're grandparents, so when we have children, and they learn this, and our children or grandchildren like, but isn't this your time?
Yeah.
As men, what are you gonna say?
Mm.
And it saddens me that too many men we have to coddle and say, think of your mother, your sister.
Yeah.
No, actually, no.
Just think, period.
Thank you. Think of the fact that you would not be here.
Yeah. Amen
Think of, I recently, on A Woman for Change, I think it was for Women's Day, very late, I made a poem and I said, women are our first homes. But yet we went from homes to hunted.
Yeah.
We're being hunted.
Yeah.
At the rate we're going in this country, we're being hunted.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to dive in it too deeply, like you need to be an activist, you need to have lots of followers. I know the excuses, I don't have that many followers. Educate yourself. Google is a thing. Statistics are a thing. If your friend says, no, man, but she was, call him out. This educate him. This is what consent is. If it's your friend, then surely a good friend is someone that's gonna correct you. Surely if you love this, even if you're embarrassed that or saddened or feel some type of way that your friend is, some people could be watching this and your friend is a predator and you know that in your heart and you're like, if you love that person, call them out.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize how much damage and how much of a danger that person not only is to society, but to him as well. Because that person could harm somebody close to you.
Yeah.
But this person, you like, I just wish men could realize that if we had these conversations, I read something that broke my heart. I think it was in 2020. I think it was, I can't remember when, but it was when that hashtag men are trash came out.
Yeah.
And somebody wrote a piece on Instagram and it basically said that I'm saddened that my baby boy is going to be viewed as a human nuclear weapon. And as a man, how does that make you feel? That just because you are a man, people are fearful at the sight of you, at the thought of you, at engaging with you. I've heard conversations of people saying, I don't want to fall in love anymore. I don't want to be married anymore. Can you see how detrimental this is to society? So many things are changing. Love is not a thing. Marriage is not a thing. I don't want children. Where are we going? That's where I go back to that brokenness. That's where I go back to that. So accountability. I can't overemphasize accountability and educating. Accountability and just educating each other. Yes, gender-based violence may not be heavily impacted in our curriculum yet, and it should, and we're still pushing for that amongst many other activists. But for now, Google is a thing.
Yeah.
Google is a thing.
Yeah.
Statistics are a thing. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Because we live in a country that has to happen to you first for you to believe that the statistics are true. That's happened to your sister, your mother. Then you'll be like, yo, I'm mad now. Now I'm going to go march.
Sure. It's very important. I think what you're saying is very important, and I really appreciate it. I think, gents, it really boils down to those three things. One, accountability, right? If you know what this thing is, if you know its harms, if you care about its harms in the society, hold those around you accountable for this thing, right? It's one thing to participate in a conversation around canceling R. Kelly or, bemoaning what happened in Kagiso recently. That's one thing when you do that online. It's another when you speak to your friends about it actively. It's another when you call your friend out at the braai during a soccer game that we're watching together, playing FIFA. In those moments when we're together doing our ordinary gent things, things, those are the moments where the change actually happens. And I really, really appreciate that, you know. And look, I'd like to really thank you so much, Bulelwa, for this time that you've given us for this episode, and the clarity that you came with, right? Because in the end, even Bongani Dumi and I could take for granted what we know about these things, right? We think we could take for granted the fact that, yeah, man, we researched, well versed in the language and all those kinds of things. But I think also for us, this was as impactful as it would be for the ear that would never have engaged this before, right? So you really did help us understand this very well. And I thank you so much for joining us on our platform.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this conversation.
Awesome. Right, so a big shout out to all the people that are behind our production team. Shout out to Mohale Rasihala for all our graphics. Shout out to Luyolo for our video production. Shout out to Bongani and Dumi for co-hosting with me. Shout out to Tato Mutsusi for audio production as well. You know, and most importantly, a huge shout out to Bulelwa for joining us on this platform itself, right? So make sure, guys, that you like and subscribe this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you find your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Share, spread the gospel, have the conversations. But most importantly, and this is what we say all the time, if you're a regular viewer, you would have done this by now. Make sure when you give us a review, make sure it's 5 stars, or otherwise just don't even try. Don't even twara, you know what I'm saying? You know, just twara, more lifing, if you're not going to give us 5 stars. All right. Thank you so much. And it is a wrap.